To wrap up the 150th anniversary of the 501, we worked on an important project to conserve our earliest pair of overalls. I'm Tracey Panek, historian at Levi Strauss & Company and director of our archives. 1873 is the year that Levi Strauss & Company received a patent for an improvement in fastening pocket openings. It was the birth of the modern blue jean, the birth of the 501. We spent months in the archives researching our collection, discussing with our designers, and even searching at the Smithsonian. We concluded that 9Rivet is the oldest pair of Levi's in our archives. Why 9 rivets? Because in 1873, the back cinch was not riveted, and it's missing 2 rivets, which would eventually be added. Those earliest Levi's overalls were made with either riveted duck or riveted denim, and 9Rivet is made of denim. Some of the unique features of 9Rivet that we don't see on our 501 models today include the back cinch, the rivets that were originally on the back cinch, the gusset in the crotch area, and the center back patch, which eventually got moved over to the right. It's clear that this garment has been worn repeatedly, and in some places was missing big patches, especially around the crotch area. Given its age and its importance in our collection, we wanted to make sure this garment was properly taken care of. That's why we decided to bring in Paul Dillinger to do some conservation.
My name's Paul Dillinger, head of global design innovation, but that's a fancy way of saying I'm just a fashion designer. So I get to work on things like advanced wearable technologies and vintage conservation. I first saw this garment, and so different than the other garments that we have in the archive that look like blue jeans. I thought, gosh, it's going to be so much work. When we first saw it, the fly was all curled back on itself. You wouldn't have been able to count how many buttons were on that fly. Unlike some of the other archive pieces that are dazzlingly, brilliantly blue and are very recognizable as the garments in our closet, this one had lost so much color and so much of its form, you couldn't pick it up without losing pieces of it. It needed stability. It needed a structure to go under it to help put all the pieces back together. It was like a half-done jigsaw puzzle.
One of my conservation goals was to stabilize this garment. I wanted to make sure that I could show it to designers and other people and not risk further damage.
A lot of my concern was what's the right fabric for conservation. The most important material is a base cloth to go under it. For that, we chose 100% cotton organdy, which is a really structured material. It's sort of transparent, so we would be able to see through the garment into what's underneath the repair, but it's also really stable, so it would support the garment. Off shelf, it was slightly acidic, and this garment was slightly alkaline, so we had to neutralize that. If we were to use a more acidic fabric on an alkaline garment like this, it could actually degrade the strength of the fiber even further. So you really needed to put like-to-like fibers together, and that requires laundering it with a neutralizer. So we matched the cotton to the pH of the garment, and then found an archival 100% cotton thread that was also pH neutralized. We had our pattern maker come in and do a really, really beautiful duplicate pattern and built that garment so that we could then line up all the seams for the interior with the seams to the exterior. And that's what we used to stitch in the interior structure. Beyond the neutralized pH white cotton organdy, solid pair of scissors, special magnifying goggles, turning that on, and then spending hours just tucked up in there exploring the garment. It was almost like an act of excavation in and of itself. And then just start the process of really slowly and carefully unfurling all the little bits that have kind of like curled up, moving them gently back into place, pinning them into place, and then very, very slowly running cross-stitching them into place so that everything was sort of like back where it needed to be. So it was sort of a lot of counterintuitive steps in the process to kind of ease this shadow garment, this ghost garment on the inside of the conserved garment, and then attaching everything in place.
Some of our early advertisements, there are logos like "they wear like iron," and that's exactly what Paul described. Having such a hard time taking his little needle and putting it through the denim because it was just that tough.
Every change from this original 501 to the 501 we have now has been intentionally an improvement. It's always good to have this sort of gold standard to make sure that any changes or updates that we're making are the right ones, are well informed, that we're not making new mistakes, that we're not repeating mistakes. So I think having this continuity of timeline is really important as a design team. The more we ground our decision makings in lessons and learnings from the past and have access to well-conserved garments that can inform our design decisions for the future, the better the garment's going to be.
Not only did we have ambitious goals for this project, we also had an important deadline. We were going to exhibit these pants for the 501 experience for the 150th anniversary in May. 9Rivet is one of the most important pieces in our archives. It's the original design, and it became the model that we progressed from since that time.
And it just took a lot of love to get it back to a place where it became a recognizable jean again. And now it's my favorite piece in the archive.
I couldn't be happier to finish up this conservation project on 9Rivet, to make sure that it's preserved for another 150 years and to have learned all the lessons that we did in taking care of it. Thanks for joining us for another episode in the Levi's Archives.